Thank you. Hi, all. Morning. Myself, Jai Sundar. I'm a partner solution architect, and as part of my role, I closely work with partners like HashiCorp to bring joint solutions to address our common customers' problems. Right. Today, I'll be covering secret management in AWS. In that, I'll talk about how secret management look like before the cloud computing era and what all the challenges faced, and then we'll see how does it changed in the cloud era, right? And then we will discuss on the services provided by AWS for secret management and how it helps in improving the security posture. Then we will wrap up with some of the key takeaways to be considered while strategizing the secret management in AWS. Right. So let's recall how we were managing the security in the data center era. So if you are like me, a part of build and operations team in an enterprise where data center is hosted in the their own premises environment, then the organization is responsible for end-to-end security. So how it was done? The first step is to make sure that we secure our boundaries. So when I say boundaries, it includes the data center, office premises, and then people working from home or on the road and wherever they have workstations and laptops, right? And so in DC, we used to do the racking and stacking up of servers and build out systems and application on top of it, right? To secure all of these physical premises, maybe we may have badges and even employees to have fingerprints to get an access to the premises, including data centers. And then they use passwords or even multi-factor authentications from their devices to get access to the servers and applications, right? So then there were endpoint protection like antivirus and anti-malware, which secures our workstations and servers hosted in the data centers. And then we have the certificates used in public websites, which are meant for secured client to server communications. Right? There are firewalls to limit access based on IPs, ports, or even the MAC addresses. So, and then it comes IDS, right? Intrusion detection system with agents that scan traffic, looking for intrusion or even attackers to the perimeter, right? And then we have a CM to log all the events from various devices and collect system logs and store it in a common place, including the VPN logs, so that we get alerted when there is an issue. But how do you correlate all of this data? So you probably have to put your detective hat and then do some research to get an idea about what is happening over there, right? So what are the common themes here? One is that, first of all, you need to set up perimeter access control, and then we use IP addresses and ports and MAC addresses to identify traffic, and then we set up a trusted and untrusted zone to secure our workload separately, right? So many organizations face challenges maintaining and managing the security of their on-premises cloud, and what all the challenges and why those challenges are, right? One is the lack of visibility. So when I talk about the visibility, so it's always a challenge in keeping a CMDB and asset management system up to date. In an on-premise environment, so it can be difficult to know what resources and data are out at a given point in time, or where it is moving and who is utilizing it or accessing it. See, I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it requires an expensive, complex tooling to get an accurate and real-time data, right? So most organizations just don't have that level of visibility that they would like in an on-premise environment. So, and without a visibility, so it's challenging for an organization to adequately secure their infrastructure and their data to meet their security and compliance requirements. So with various vendor systems with the different multiple interfaces, also with the limited or even without any APIs in the systems, so it was difficult to build a visibility for all of these systems on logs to get in a single pane of glass view. So, and then a typical challenge is to get rid of the manual process. Like it's difficult because to automate a security talk between issues such as the interoperability of a third party and the homegrown tools, lack of APIs for our automations, how to connect these different systems and how do you synchronize the data. So manual processes are there, but it tend to lead to inconsistent execution. Then it takes a longer time in most cases, which disrupts the customer experiences. So the combination of lack of visibility into the environment and coupled with the low degree of automations can compromise on organization ability to move quickly and efficiently to secure their on-premises infrastructure. See, the goal of automation is to programmatically handle the tasks that would otherwise be done by any of our IT staff, right? So this is much easier in the cloud, and we'll see how it can be done. are achieved in AWS services. So how does this lack of visibility and low degree of automation impacts the secret management? So because of a complex solution for secrets rotations, most of the time there are long overdue secrets and mostly it never gets rotated. Say there is a human interaction to perform this rotation. So when there is a manual intervention, definitely you can expect things will fall behind, right? You see, because of this, we may be rotating secret once in a month, or sometimes even quarterly, or evenly. Sometimes even forget to do that. So it's not reliable end of the day. So unreliable rotation breaks things and brings outages. So for example, if you are trying to rotate a DB password, we may be doing it in one or two systems wherein we'll forget and do it in the other servers. So then it results in outages. So this brings in too much of human access for just in case scenarios. Also that there is no clear audit due to decoupled systems, which means harder to track activities, right? So these are the challenges because of which we had a situation where organization has to choose between either or situations. Means either you move quickly or stay secure. So people requesting for a new features or building new applications or requesting for change, we try to move fast and innovate fast normally, but to provide a solution to customers. However, there is an InfoSec team in between, often forced to slow things down, maybe in the human speed, to make sure that the environment is secure, right? So previously you have to choose between either to stay secure or do things slowly. So potentially with the tons of manual work and then approval process, right? Or move fast, and we'll be evaluating the guardrails in order to quickly release on the product and solutions. But that paradigm is changed now in the cloud. So why customers want to run their workload in cloud? So basically because they want to move fast and iterate quickly so that they can deliver values to their customers, while at the same time they expect to have a secured environment which can scale to their rapid pace of innovations. Today, it is possible to automate many of these basic security tasks which we discussed earlier, while at the same time, with the right tooling, you can get the visibility needed to accurately identify and monitor the critical assets and data. Sorry for that. So with the cloud, by using APIs, all of these are made easier, right? So you can stay agile while maintaining and many of the cases improving the security posture. So AWS Cloud provides highly integrated logging and monitoring, as well as tools to automate core security functions. So organizations can use AWS to innovate quickly and maintain their security posture. Now it is no longer a binary. Now you can move fast while at the same time staying secure. Again, the security is a shared responsibility. So that is the main thing which we have to understand when we are talking about cloud and security, right? It's the standard shared responsibility for AWS. When I say shared responsibility, say AWS is responsible for security of the cloud, wherein customers are responsible for security in the cloud. So what do you mean by security of the cloud means AWS is responsible for protecting the infrastructure that runs all of the services offered in AWS cloud, right? Say it includes the infrastructure components, hardware, software, networking, and even the facilities that run the AWS cloud services. When I talk about the security in the cloud, it depends on the number of servers are determined by the AWS cloud services that customer selects. So it determines the amount of configuration that customer has to do based on the choices of services being choose. Say for example, take a services like Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2, right? Another names, Sarways, even VPC, or even S3, which are categorized as the infrastructure as service in the AWS environment. So it requires a customer to perform some necessary security configuration and management tasks. So to detail in out, say for example, if you are running an EC2 instance and you are responsible for updating the security patches or even OS update on top of the EC2 instance, and any applications or utilities which are running on top of it instances, you have to make sure that they are staying secure and up to date in the security patches and updates. So it's also they're responsible for the configuration of the AWS provided firewall, which is called as a security group. So we have to make sure that it is configured properly to limit access for the people who need it, right? So in terms of services, AWS provide number of services to achieve this security. Right. Let us talk about few of the services and how does it help in achieving the security management and security in AWS cloud. Right. When we talk security, immediately the first point which comes in our mind is all about identity and access management. Right. See, what do you mean by identity and access management? It helps in defining and then enforcing, also help in auditing user permissions across AWS services and resources. So AWS provides number of services in this identity and access management. To start with, most of the people might be knowing it, which is called IAM. So which securely manages access to the AWS services and resources. And then there is a new services called IAM Identity Center. So earlier this was called as AWS SSO. So it helps in centrally managing all your SSO access to multiple AWS accounts and business applications. And then we have AWS Directory Services. This is the managed Microsoft Active Directory in AWS. So there are other services in this area like Amazon Cognito, AWS Organizations, and AWS Resource Access Manager to support in the identity and access management solutions. So these are helping in adding a user sign up and signing access control to your web and mobile applications, and organization helps in implementing policy-based management for multiple AWS accounts. So these are some of the services which comes under identity and access management solutions. So all of these services end of the day helps to make sure that everything is authenticated and provides the capability to set up a least level of permissions. So good thing is that it integrates with many of the third-party authentication tools like AD and Octo. So also it makes things ephemeral and short-lived. So it makes things difficult for attackers, right? So, and then infrastructure protection. It actually to reduce, what do you mean by infrastructure protection? Actually to reduce the surface area to manage and increase the privacy, also provides the control of overall infrastructure in AWS. So to achieve this, there are a number of services provided by AWS. To start with, we'll talk about, to start with, it's in VPC, AWS Virtual Private Cloud. So you can provision a logically isolated section of AWS where you can launch AWS resources in that virtual network that you define. So that's where the virtual private cloud comes in, which is VPC, right? And then there is a WAF, which is Web Application Firewall. So it protects your web application from the common web exploits, ensuring availability and security. So then there is a sealed, AWS sealed, which is a managed data protection service. So which safeguards web application running on AWS. So then there are other services like a private link, AWS Systems Manager, and Firewall Manager on the network firewall services, right? So when you talk about a private link, it helps keeping your network traffic within the AWS network so that your traffic doesn't get away from the AWS network, right? And then there are system managers which helps in managing your on-premise as well as the AWS EC2 instance to get up to date with the patches and the security images. And then there are firewall managers and the network firewall which centrally configure and manage AWS web application firewall rules across accounts and applications, right? So these are the few services which comes under the infrastructure protection. So immediately after the infrastructure protection, we'll be looking at the data protection. Right, there are a suite of services designed to automate and simplify the data protection and security tasks, ranging from the key management to credentials management in AWS. Let's talk about few of them. See, so maybe knowing about the basic key management service in AWS, which is called AWS KMS, right? So it still helps you to create and control the keys used to encrypt your data, right? And there is a cloud HSM. So which is a managed hardware security model on AWS cloud. So we have a certificate manager. So this is what we are talking about now to secure a client server communication. So you can easily provision and deploy TLS and SSL certificates used with AWS services. And then there are secrets manager and AWS VPN and server-side encryption and Amazon Mice, which discovers and protects your sensitive data at scale. So these are the few services which helps in the data protection theme of service cloud. And then, so once you have an identity and access management system combined with the infrastructure protection, data protection, the next comes the directive controls, right? What happens, right, in the directive controls? What is that expected from the directive control, right? So it is to provide a visibility needed to spot issues before they impact our business. and improve the security posture and reduce the risk profile of your environment. See, detected control provides a better visibility, which we were talking about earlier in the data center era, where there is a lack of visibility. So this detective control provides the better visibility and look for events and correlate. So there are a number of services which brings everything together to have a single pane of glass in AWS services. So to name a few, see, there is Amazon Cloud Watch, so which provides the complete visibility of your cloud resources and applications logs, and it also collects metrics and monitor logs, and then set an alarms if there is something goes wrong, if there is something changes, right? So that's where the Amazon Cloud Watch comes in. And then Cloud Trail. Cloud Trail is nothing but tracking the user activity and the API usages, who comes in and what they are doing it, and what time they are coming and what are the activity they are performing. So these are all the things which are getting logged through Cloud Trail. So the Cloud Watch is actually what is happening on top of after authentication and authorization, and it gets logged. Wherein the Cloud Trail, it is actually monitoring who is coming and what they are doing and what they are performing. So that's the difference between CloudWatch and the Cloud Trail, right? And then there is a VPC flow logs and config, security hub, and so many services. When you talk about the flow logs, so you can capture all the information about the IP traffic going and to and from network interface across your VPCs, right? And again, these logs are stored in Amazon CloudWatch to provide the uniform view in a collective manner, right? And then there is an AWS config, so which is actually providing the recording and configuration of your AWS resources to enable compliance auditing. And there is a security hub. Again, it's a central view. So we were talking about the detective control. So when I talk about the detective control, it is actually about providing the uniform view in the single pane of glass for all of these logs and instance and rules. So that's what is happening in the detective control services, right? And then immediately the incident response. So during an incident, what are we expected to do? So how to contain, the most important point is how to contain the event and return to the known good state as quick as possible with the use of right response plan, right? So there are a number of services provided by tools and services which are provided by AWS to do this incident response planning, right? So few of them are like event bridge, right? This is a serverless event bus that makes it easier to build event-driven application to scale using events generated from your application and respond to operational changes in your environment and application in real time to prevent the infrastructure vulnerabilities. Right? So that's the most important thing, and it can scale at any for any number of applications. That's the advantage of Amazon Event Bridge. So when you talk about the incident response, definitely we should talk about the AWS backup, right? Which centrally manages all your backups across AWS services to simplify the data protection and if required, we can restore it quickly. And then definitely disaster recovery. So when something happens, so how to recover fast in automated and cost-effective manner. So that's where the Elastic Disaster Recovery Services coming in. And then Security Hub, which provides the out-of-the-box integration with the ticketing, threat investigation, incident management, all of these things to combine as a workflow. So here, everything is an API. So that's the challenge we had earlier in the data center. Now everything is an API, so that you can automate anything and everything and bring in everything together into the single pane of glass, and then you can respond back quickly when there is an incident, and you can detect fast before it impacts your systems and the process. So then when we have everything, then what is the next thing is about compliance. So what is compliance? It's about maintaining and managing and meeting these compliance standards and requirements, the certification requirements to satisfy the every other regulatory agencies around the globe. Right? That's what we want to do it, right? And in that sense, AWS has the capability, and it proves again and again that virtually it can support every other regulatory agencies requirements around the globe. To name a few, some of the services, we'll talk about the AWS Artifact, right? So Artifact is a no-cost self-service portal. You might have seen that. Maybe I can send the link of the presentation where you can get an access to all of the compliance report in on demand for AWS services, right? And then the same things to what we discussed in the detective controls. You can use CloudWatch, Cloud Trail, and the config, which are part of the data protection services. to bring in compliance across the AWS services, right? So these are the various services which are provided by AWS to help improving your security posture. So how does it help in improving your security posture in the cloud? So AWS provides the confidence. That's what we discussed. It is all API, right? So that you are able to automate everything. So it provides the confidence and the control needed to securely run your business with the most flexible and secure cloud computing environment available today. We can improve your ability to meet your core security and compliance requirements, such as data locality, confidentiality. So there are a number of services which are available and which help you to achieve that, right? Right now, so AWS protects millions of customers around the world, including large enterprises and startups and educational institutions, and even the government organization. So the scale and the reach of AWS customers gives us a broad visibility and deep perspective on the cloud security, so which we then reinvest back into our infrastructure and services. So every AWS customer benefits from the AWS being the only commercial cloud that has had its service offering and associated supply chain vetted by secured enough for a top secret workloads, right? So it has the largest network of security partners like HashiCorp. So this helps to extend the benefits of AWS by using security technology and the consulting services from the solutions providers you already know and trust, right? So it's not about only AWS services. We have partners like HashiCorp, where known partners which you are already working with, so that you can continue on along with them. So I will maybe wrap up with some of the key takeaways in my slides while you are building your security strategy for a cloud. So first and foremost is the zero trust, right? So everything must be authenticated, and permission should not be granted just by being in the network. So every single request should be vetted, verified, authenticated, and authorized. So that's the most important thing. And then the secret one has to be provided only when that is needed, right? Instead of hot coding into the application code or source code, it has to be just in time. So applications should request it when needed. So users shouldn't have a long-term credentials. They should request it when they need it, and let's make things ephemeral here. It should not be hot coded anywhere, and it should not be a long-term stored secret also. And wherever possible, remove that weakest variable, which is us human, right? And I say that a human should not have access to machine's secrets, especially when there is a machine-to-machine communication happens. And wherever possible, since we have all APIs, so it should be automated. Everything should be automated. So let machine retrieve their own credentials automatically when they need it, right? So that you don't need to be in between these communications. So we discussed about the rotation. So with all these automations and policies and tools in place, the rotation become easier. So we can make it more frequent, and it's scheduled rotation also we can do that. So by doing this, so we are reducing the attacking surface for anybody to come in on those any changes in the environment. So by providing having all of these automations, rotations, no human interaction, definitely then it helps in improving the auditing, right? So we should have a clear audit trail of our secrets. So which can be monitored. So you have to have a centralized system which is already there in the cloud. So just make sure that you have audit in place, so that we know who has access and what and when. And then integrity. So we talked about the auditability. So by default, by having an increased auditability, it also ties with the integrity of our secrets. So another key factor is of security is that data integrity. It's just not a security integrity, it's about the data integrity. So how to make sure that our data is secure. When it is secured, how to make sure that key is securely stored and we are able to easily retrieve that. So these are all the 2-3 things which you have to consider when you are building the secret management strategy in the cloud. So by doing all of these things, normally we used to forget on the availability, but we need to make sure that the secrets and data are available when it is needed for anybody in the system. So that's the most important thing which we consider while doing the secret management strategy, right? So secret management should be robust and available for users, again, to use it when they need it. It should not be available anytime for anyone, right? So this covers my perspective on secret management. And now let's listen from Nitin on HashiCorp Vault capability in the secret management and how does it help in improving the security posture. So I'm done. Nitin, it's over to you to continue. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Jay. Thanks for walking us through the AWS principles on the security. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I hope everyone should be able to see my screen.
Yes, we can, Nitin.
Okay, thanks, Bhav. So, yeah, so quickly, my name is Nitin Kelvekar, and I'm the Partner Solutions Engineer with HashiCorp. And, thanks for joining us today again. We will be talking, I will be talking about the HashiCorp Vault platform capabilities and how you can secure your users, applications, APIs, which are deployed in AWS environment, right? So before I get started, also wanted to quickly introduce HashiCorp as a platform which helps customers address challenges across four main key pillars, right? So right from your infrastructure automation, wherein the typical challenges of customer having issues when it comes to managing, maintaining, and deploying infrastructure on cloud, right? So with the infrastructure as a code, customers get ability to have a self-service at the same time have an entire end-to-end compliance and governance of the infrastructure platform, right? The second pillar is about network security and network infrastructure automation, which helps in solutions like service mesh, service discovery, and the automated networking, which helps connect your application over security over your networks, right? The third pillar is the security pillar, which we are going to talk about extensively today, which primarily focuses on secrets management, but we have also extended it to more advanced data protection kind of solutions, and also getting secure remote access to your users who are remotely accessing your application workloads, be it on cloud, be it on-prem, or be it across any hybrid environment, right? The fourth pillar is the application security and application modernization, which helps developers and practitioners in building a developer-centric application delivery framework, which again is one of the most common use cases that customers are using today, right? So the HashiCorp products are trusted by almost by 4,000 plus roughly around 4,000 customers, and we have customers in various different sizes, different verticals, right? And some of them are also in the global 2000s and Fortune 500 companies as well, right? So you heard Jay talk about the talked about the challenges and the overall framework that customers took when it comes to security, specifically on security, when they shifted from on-prem or to the cloud, and they started the cloud journey, right? So with HashiCorp, in HashiCorp, we also have addressed those challenges, but the way we address those typical challenges is we have found that there are some the adoption to the multi-cloud environments has set up some new principles, right? And if I have to give an example, the way in the traditional world how it used to happen is every developer, every practitioner used to raise a ticket to get the infrastructure provision, and then the communication was on an IP based kind of security, and then the communication between applications and services was host based, and which is completely static, right? Moving to the cloud world, and what new principles cloud has introduced is we've shifted from the manual tasks to infrastructure as a code for provisioning. From a security standpoint, we have moved from IP based security to identity based, which is more secure, right? And when it comes to the networking security, and connectivity, we have moved from host-based to service-based, right? And these are the new principles that has been introduced to the by cloud adoption, and that's when we are going to talk about specifically today on the identity-based principles that we are going to talk about with Vault, right? So as I mentioned earlier, the earlier traditional method of IP-based security is no longer valid when it comes to your cloud environment, to your multi-cloud or to your hybrid cloud environments. The shift with the cloud principles has to be identity-based, and that's when that's where the our platform of HashiCorp Vault helps address that identity-based challenges or secrets management in the modern world, right? So, what is Vault, right? Vault is nothing but a secrets management tool, which is started as a secret management tool, purely formed as one of our core products, and which is completely based on identity-based security, right? So, Vault is the standard for managing and maintaining your secrets across your different environments, different clouds, be it on-prem, be it private cloud, be it any kind of cloud environment that you are having in your organization today, right? So Vault started off with as just a simple secrets management tool, and I'm going to talk about all of these use cases today. But eventually we also we have also got into more advanced use cases of providing certificates management, keys, integration with cloud KMS like AWS, and then also having advanced data protection in the form of encryption and tokenization, which I'm going to talk about in few minutes, right? So Vault acts as one single centralized identity based security platform in your environments today, right? So with the rise of the platform teams, right, and the platform teams have been really busy with most of the mundane tasks, and how Vault helps platform team by providing capabilities is, it, as I said earlier, it acts as a centralized secrets management tool with different key use cases, but not it's not only limited to by providing simple key management secrets management use cases. We also help customers adopt and adhere to the policies and the security governance that you might be already having, right? And when it comes to a secrets management tool, or when it comes to a security tool in a wide organization, there needs to be audit trail, there needs to be tracking, right? And we do provide controls wherein you can integrate with your existing investment that you have done in an SIEM tool, sort of SIEM tools like that, right? Customers or organizations who are looking for a multi-cloud or multi-regional support, or let's say where Vault acts as an application 0, application 1, right? There we also provide high availability disaster recovery scenario situations, which help customers in the journey of adoption and having a reliable and safe and secure environment, because Vault acts as the primary applications in the environment, right? So in order to support the GRC policies compliance, Vault is also FIPS 140-2 compliant, and we also are SOC compliance as we speak, right? And by now you would have realized that Vault is not a single product, it's not a single solution, it's rather a platform. And in order for a platform kind of a solution, right, you also need to integrate with different various third-party solutions and we do extensive support with various cloud providers, identity providers, monitoring tools, and we have large ecosystem of APIs as well, right? So keeping that as the overall context about Vault, right? Now let's look into the key features or key functionalities which can help deploy, which you can start your journey on AWS, right? So before I start on to the specific use cases, right, let's understand how secure and how does Vault works, right? So as you would have guessed, everything and anything in Vault, as we mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, it needs to be authenticated, right? So a client can be your user, can be an application, or can be an API, which is communicating to Vault in order to fetch some secrets, right? So client, whenever a client needs to have access to the secret, it needs to first authenticate with an existing identity provider of your own, which you might be already having. For example, Ping, Okta, the native AWS IAM policies, authentication methods, right? It can be anything that you might be using, right? So once authenticated, the most important piece is every user that authenticates will not be by default given access to anything and anything that is contained within Vault, right? So we also provide access control list, ACLs, which helps define, which will help you define controls, granular controls, and we have a policy attached with every client that is going to be authenticated by the identity provider, right? So it's like a multi-factor or an additional layer of security by attaching a policy by providing role-based access controls to the clients, right? And then the third thing is the secrets engine, which I'm going to talk about in some time, which is actually the heart or the core of the Vault platform, which actually helps, either store or generate secrets based on what authentication methods or what secrets engine you want to leverage in your environment, right? And as I mentioned earlier, as Vault is one of the core applications, we support at every point of time. The auditing and audit trail is getting recorded. So every step, every action that is being performed by a client over Vault is getting recorded, and you will have a complete audit trail of all of the in the form of logs, right? So coming to the specifics of why an identity-based access is required and why Vault acts as an identity-based access mechanism, right? So just to give the current challenge, the current scenario that we've seen with customers is there are multiple applications, multiple identity provider, multiple resources, right? And each of them have their own identity and authentication mechanisms, right? So in this current scenario, right, when your applications could be on cloud, on AWS, your identity systems sitting on-prem, right? In order to have one centralized or unified authentication method, Vault acts as that identity-based acts as an identity-based broker kind of component, right? So in order to start or support your secrets management journey, which you may or may not be currently using while you're using AWS environment, right? Vault becomes that first identity-based access mechanism, which helps unify the which helps unify the authentication and identity of the user, right? So I'll probably explain this with an example of what happens with Vault and what happens without Vault. So traditionally, we have seen, let's take an example of Alex as a user, right? So Alex is the user who has, and this is we are talking about without Vault into scenario, right? So Alex has access to GitHub tokens. He has separate identity and username credentials when he logs into GitHub, VMware environment, be it Kubernetes, or let's say when he's logging into any application or he's created some resources on AWS infrastructure, right? So every time Alex has to log in, there will be a different set of credentials. There will be a different set of authentication mechanisms maintained by each of these identity providers, right? But when we look at Vault, how identity-based access works, right? Alex is treated as one single entity, and even though there is the different authentication identities available, Vault creates credentials dynamically based on identities and the access policies that we discussed in the earlier architecture diagram, right? So Vault then becomes one single unified base access control across any of your applications that will be deployed on cloud, right? So you can see how this simplifies the overall secrets management platform by not having to build everything on your own, but rather leverage Vault as a service in your organization, right? So secrets management, one of the challenge or one of the things that a lot of customers do is they try to build a centralized, secrets management tool. And the first challenge that is being faced is first challenge that is faced is the secret sprawl challenge, right? Wherein static secrets are getting stored across different in the form of username passwords. Credentials are getting stored in source code repositories, or be it in simple text simple plain text formats as well, right? So Vault addresses this secret sprawl challenge by centrally storing, securing, and providing access to all of your secrets. Especially the secrets can, as I mentioned earlier, can be stored in your on-prem environment, or be it in your AWS environment, right? Your applications, your app developers could be writing code. They might be calling some infrastructure secrets from AWS, right? And they might not be even aware that these are secrets, and by if these secrets are getting exposed, there might be a potential attack, or could be a downtime that can also might happen if it is being accessed by a malicious activity or malicious threat actor, right? So how does so the other challenge is, as I said earlier, managing and maintaining the secret management is by building internally is a big challenge for organizations. And that's when Vault acts as that secret storage platform, and helps provide those secrets engine in the form of, let's say for example, a KV store, or could be an AWS secrets engine that I'll talk about in some time, and provide one single secret storage mechanism across all of your environment that you might be using today, right? And these are the few things that you can just get, as I mentioned earlier, if you're getting started on your AWS journey. These are the few things that you can quickly get started. The next use case is the dynamic secrets. And for this, I would probably give an example of how traditionally organizations or developers are getting access to databases, right? For example, let's say there is an application developer who needs to get access to a database, right? What typically we've seen is customers usually create a service account, and these service accounts get shared across various different application developers, and there is no audit trail. Hundreds and thousands of application developers or applications are making use of the same service account across different environments, right? So the way we manage, or the way we solve this dynamic secret challenge is, first and foremost, the operator needs to set up this database secrets engine. You need to create a role, and as I mentioned earlier, everything is role-based access. And whenever the applications needs access to the database, it makes a communication or an API call to Vault. Vault will then create a temporary credentials to the application. Will share the token, and will provide an access in the form of a token, which will have the username credentials. And the beauty of this Vault dynamic secrets is the credentials are now are ephemeral. They have time to live, and they automatically expire, right? So most of the organizations also leverage this by automating this whole process, wherein Vault, after the time to live or after the expiration time, right? Vault automatically goes to the database, and even removes those temporary credentials that were created. So no longer application has access to these credentials, and all these applications, all these credentials are gone. So applications, if the application need to communicate back with the database, it needs to make another API call or another, and it needs to authenticate again with Vault and get those credentials, right? So these dynamic secrets are very, very important, and we've seen a lot of customers, leveraging these use cases.
Nitin, we have a quick question in the Q&A.
Yeah.
So is Vault being deployed in the way as a plugin through different platforms like DB, on-prem, VMware, Kubernetes, etc.? And where the certain ports will be required to be open in order to allow the secrets consumption?
Okay. So yeah, so Vault will be deployed either on your on-prem environment, or Vault can be deployed on AWS environments as well, right? So we will be Vault is and the plugins that I mentioned earlier, the secrets engines are the plugins that you will enable once Vault is deployed in your environment. So Vault as a platform is available primarily as a self-service hosted option, where you can deploy on-prem or on AWS, or we also have a cloud SaaS platform in the form of HCP, which I will be talking about, which I'll be touching about in some time. Okay, yeah, thanks for those questions. Quickly moving on to the one of the advanced use cases that or one of the most commonly used use cases that we've seen from customers is the certificate authority. And if you have ever in past maintained or managed certificates on-prem, or let's say even in a cloud environment, managing and maintaining of these PKI certificates is a big challenge that we've seen and we've heard from the customers. So the way Vault addresses this challenge is also on the similar lines of dynamic secrets that I mentioned about from a database credential perspective. In this case, Vault will act as a dynamic secrets engine for your PKI certificates and help issue those certificates, renew, revoke, right? These certificates on behalf of the manual activity which you would be doing in past. So you can completely automate your manual tasks of having to set up and deploy a certificate authority. Vault can act as an intermediate or a root certificate authority in your organizations as well. Extensively, like we also have extended the support of having the on the similar lines, we have extended the support to have the AWS KMS support. I think Jay did mention quickly about what a KMS looks like on AWS, and we help manage and integrate with the Vault Secrets engine can also manage your keys and secrets which are getting published from the AWS KMS as well. So moving on to some few advanced level use cases, right? So while those were the secrets management, static and secrets management challenges that I have talked about, customers are also leveraging Vault as a platform to encrypt and decrypt your data, your application data, right? And to maintain and manage a system separately for your application team is definitely a big challenge, and it needs a lot of productive cycles for them to focus on secrets on the cryptography. And the main use case here is your application developers need to focus on their application code rather than thinking about having to become the cryptography experts, and that's when Vault comes into picture and helps helps drive those drive those use cases by acting as a encryption as a service platform, which helps customers or rather the application developers to pass on some information, some secrets or some application data to Vault. Vault then encrypts that particular data using an encryption key, and the application can then go store that encrypted data in the database, right? And while decrypting we go back we go back and fetch the encrypted data from database. The data is then passed on to Vault. Vault then decrypts the data using the keys which was used earlier, and then passes back the decrypted data back to application, right? So imagine for your application developers, this becomes really a simple tool wherein they just focus on their application development, and Vault takes care of the encryption and decryption of data, right? And the best part about Vault encryption, transit secrets encryption mechanism is we also do provide option to rotate the keys. So there are a lot of compliance which ensure which mandates that your encryption key should be rotated or should be renewed, and Vault automatically can do this in the backend, right? So that was about encryption as a service. Now looking into some specific use cases for applications which are deployed in your cloud, in your AWS environments, right? For example, while Vault supports format preserving encryption and stuff like masking of your data, but there are some compliances coming from specific specific to industries, which also mandates that you need to tokenize the data, right? And with the tokenize secrets engine, a Vault can help tokenize the sensitive data that is stored outside of the Vault platform, right? So what you can do is, for example, a credit card information can be passed on to Vault, and then Vault will help tokenize that data, and then you go back and your application then goes back and stores that in a tokenized format, right? So this basically helps reduce the attack surface by not storing the data in a plain text, and also supporting some compliances that come from PCI DSS guidance, which ensure that the credit card information shouldn't be stored in a plain text format, right? So those were the few use cases that customers have already started using on your be it on-prem or be it hybrid or multi-cloud environment. But specific to the AWS integrations that I wanted to quickly cover was the AWS secrets engine, right? So again, you remember I mentioned about the dynamic secrets, right? The dynamic secrets engine with AWS secrets engine helps you generate the AWS credentials dynamically based on the IAM policies, right? And the way we support is there are 3 types of credentials that can be provided. That is an IAM user role, assume roles, and then federation tokens. So imagine your application development team who's sitting and writing and generating these multiple access keys and secret keys. They no longer have a track to it. The whole and as your teams grows, as your application services teams grows, there will be no track of all these secrets, IAM credential that will be generated, right? And you can automate this. You can by integration with AWS secrets engine, right? I did mention quickly or briefly about this. Vault also supports integration with AWS's KMS solution, so it can help manage your keys either directly from Vault, or we can continue integrate with the KMS secrets that are generated in AWS directly itself, right? So we can help the entire key lifecycle management by updating, deleting, revoking, and even rotation of these keys from the AWS KMS platform, right? So as I mentioned earlier, we do with the challenge of having multiple identities, multiple resources access, Vault acts as one single unified entity for all of your application, for all of your identity providers, right? So one logical entity that can help you address and can create instead of having multiple aliases from different clouds, on-prem, or even a SaaS application providers, right? So this specific use case is for customers who are already in the journey of Vault and who have already deployed Vault in their production environment, right? But when you look at scale, unsealing of Vault becomes challenge if you are doing it manually, right? So the way we leverage AWS KMS tool here is the AWS KMS will help will help us in automating the whole Vault unsealing across your different environments. So let's say you have a Vault cluster deployed on-prem, you have Vault cluster deployed on AWS, or different regions within AWS from a scalability standpoint. Unsealing of Vault, if in case of, let's say, any operations that are required, right? AWS KMS will help you automate these things, and this is more secure because the keys are no longer in touch with humans, and this whole automates the process by AWS KMS, automating the whole encryption and decryption of the unsealing process, right? So when it comes to the HCP Vault, I'm sure you would have heard about the recent launch that we did a couple of weeks back. So HCP Vault Secrets is a free platform that allows customers to get again started with your with your Vault journey. It's a SaaS solution and completely hosted on AWS and multiple platforms. The beauty of HCP Vault Secrets here is you don't need to the developers will be able to just store your secrets within HCP Vault, and we have an option of secret sync. Which helps sync your secrets across different environments, right? And AWS Secrets Manager is one of the first integrations that we have done with HCP Vault Secrets, because we just released HCP Vault Secrets as a public beta, right? And the first integration that we have done is with the AWS Secrets Manager tool. So this allows you to quickly get onboarded with HCP Vault Secrets, and also start syncing your secrets to your AWS Secrets Manager as well. So with that, I almost covered up most of the use cases that were related to the Vault platform and specifically to the AWS environment. But before opening up for Q&A or answering those rest of the Q&A, I also want to highlight that you have seen that how Vault can grow with your evolving needs, right? So you can start off with basics as plain static secrets management to going to an advanced ADP kind of a platform solution, right? And the way AWS and HashiCorp Vault can address solving your cloud operating model or in your cloud adoption journey is by starting off with different features, right? Like you can start off with your development team can start off with managing credentials, static secrets, and plain policy management, right? And then when you grow or when you start to scale, you want to standardize, you can have the dynamic secrets, disaster recovery, HE kind of capabilities, right? Which also help you support your compliance and governance, and help support your RTO and RPO compliances as well, right? And when it comes to stage 3, that is scaling, definitely advanced use case like encryption as a service, advanced data protection, KMS integration, certificate management, right? Those things that I mentioned earlier. So this is how HashiCorp Vault and AWS can be one of the trusted joint solutions which can help you address your secrets management or identity based challenges, secrets management challenges, and we are happy to jointly engage with you, with your account teams and AWS as in addressing those key challenges that you might be facing, right? So with that, let me quickly have a look at the
There is one
question.
additional question in the Q&A, Nitin.
Okay. Is there any price for creating TLS, SSL, and key like KMS? Okay, so that's the beauty of HashiCorp Vault. There is the pricing is based on the number of clients and not based on the number of secrets that you are going to generate with our platform, right? So that basically helps you scale to based on how you want to grow. So yeah, so that I believe that answer that question. Okay, I know we are past our time, but yeah, Parth, any other questions that you see, or we're good?
No, I think that's pretty much all it for now, Nitin. I can't see any more questions in the Q&A tab. So, well, folks, that brings us to the end of our session today. We hope you found it useful. As I mentioned earlier, this session was recorded and we'll send you the link to the recording in an email very shortly. Before we go, I would also like to share the next webinar in AWS Series Part 3, which is connecting and running AWS ECS at scale. In this session, you will see how Consul from HashiCorp can help to address these challenges by providing a standardized platform to discover, connect, automate, and secure your workloads running on ECS. If you liked what you heard today and want to learn more, please join us on 5th October via the QR code on the screen right now, or visit the Learn pages on our website, which you can find at learn.hashicorp.com. Finally, thanks again for joining us today, and a big thank you to Nitin and Jay as well. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now. Thank you so much.